556, 557, 1, 2, 3, 4, 500, 508, خلاص 556, 557, 558, 508, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66, 67, 68, 69, 70, 71, 72, 73, 74, 75, 76, 77, 78, 79, 80, 81, 82, 83, 84, 85, 86, 87, 88, 89, 90, 91, 92, 93, 94, 95, 96, 97, 98, 99, 100, 101, 102, 103, 104, 105, 106, 107, 108, 109, 110, 111, 112, 113, 114, 115, 116, 117, 118, 119, 120, 121, 122, 123, 124, 125, 126, 127, 128, 129, Bas 5, 6, 7, 8.
Bemalol gapiring, sizga xalaqit bermaysiz. Xohlagan joyga chiqasiz. Sizlarni bitta narsa, kimni qo'shmayman bu yerda. Hammaga qo'shmayman, nizimga.
Yo'q, faqat spikerlarni chaqirib o'tirib
Kim bor ekan mani yonimda o'tiradigan odam zalda?
Ana o'tirsingiz bilan. Siz oldingizga kim edi mas'ul? Buni so'ragan chaqiring. Plenarni mas'ullar keladi.
Biz hozir aytdim, kim bor ekan?
Plenarni mas'ullari iltimos qarab olaylik birinchi tarafga openingda kim bor?
Hech kimni qo'shmayman, nizimga.
To'g'ri qolsin, sinfda tarqatib.
Qarang, YouTube'ga borib tarqatsaman.
Akajon, video qo'ying, men jimjit. Просто video qo'ying, hozir любой videolarimiz aylantirib oling.
Roliklarni
Da, iltimos. Bazmasga haqi beradi. Qo'shishga majburmisiz? Jamshid chetibdi. Video qo'yib oling, iltimos. Video qo'yib oling. Yo'q, mikrofon qo'yib oling, men buni beradi Firuza. Press qo'shmaydi. Jamshid Alanchdan keyin shuningdek so'z Buxoro viloyati hokimi Botir
Xatdan qo'yib beringlar, xatdan qo'yib bering, ko'rsin.
Buxoro viloyati hokimi
Zarif, Botir Zarifmi?
Botir Zarif. Buxoro viloyati hokimi. Yo'q.
Iqtisodiy rivojlanishning oxirgi 5 yillik natijalari va erishilgan yutuqlar. Inson kapitalini oshirish, kichik biznes va xususiy tadbirkorlikni qo'llab-quvvatlash, qishloq xo'jaligini rivojlantirish orqali oziq-ovqat xavfsizligi va barqaror ish o'rinlarini yaratish, aholining barcha qatlamlariga bir xil manfaat keltiradigan o'sish modeliga o'tish, yashil iqtisodiyotni rivojlantirish. O'zbekiston Respublikasi Prezidenti Shavkat Mirziyoyev tomonidan inson qadri uchun tamoyili asosida olib borilayotgan bu va boshqa bir qator harakatlar, iqtisodiy o'sish, insonlar hayotini yaxshilash va kambag'allikni qisqartirishga qaratilgan islohotlar har bir mahalla, har bir xonadonga kirib, bugun xalq farovonligi uchun xizmat qilyapti. O'zbekiston iqtisodiy forumida dunyo va mintaqa ekspertlar bilan birgalikda muhokama qilingan dolzarb mavzuda yana bir bor siz va biz O'zbekiston kambag'allikni qisqartirish xalqaro forumida shu va boshqa bir qator masalalarni muhokama qilamiz. 2022-yil 26-27 mart. Results of the last 5 years of economic reforms. Support of small business and private entrepreneurship, creating food security and jobs through agricultural development, transition to a growth model that benefits all segments of the population equally, development of green economy. It's all about one goal: economic growth, improving people's life, and poverty reduction. These and other measures taken by the President of the Republic of Uzbekistan, Shavkat Mirziyoyev, on the basis of the principle of for human dignity and reforms aimed at economic growth, improving people's lives and reducing poverty, are now serving the well-being of the people in every mahalla. On the current topic discussed at the Uzbekistan Economic Forum, together with experts from around the world and the region, you and we will discuss these and number of other issues at the Uzbekistan International Poverty Reduction Forum, May 26-27, 2022, Bukhara. Results of the last 5 years of economic reforms, human capital accumulation, support of small business and private entrepreneurship, creating food security and decent jobs for agricultural development, transition to a growth model that benefits all segments of the population equally, development of green economy. It's all about one goal: economic growth, improving people's life, and poverty reduction. These and other measures taken by the President of the Republic of Uzbekistan, Shavkat Mirziyoyev, on the basis of the principle of human dignity and reforms aimed at economic growth, improving people's lives, and reducing poverty, are now serving the well-being of the people in every mahalla. On the current topic discussed at the Uzbekistan Economic Forum, together with experts from around the world and the region, you and we will discuss these and number of other issues at the Uzbekistan International Poverty Reduction Forum, May 26-27, 2022, Bukhara. The results of the last 5 years of economic reforms, human capital accumulation, support of small business and private entrepreneurship, creating food security and decent jobs through agricultural development, transition to a growth model that benefits all segments of the population equally, development of the green economy. It's all about one goal, economic growth, improving people's life, and poverty reduction. These and other measures taken by the President of the Republic of Uzbekistan, Shavkat Mirziyoyev, on the basis of the principle of human dignity and reforms aimed at economic growth, improving people's lives, and reducing poverty, are now serving the well-being of the people in every mahalla. On the current topic discussed at the Uzbekistan Economic Forum, together with experts from around the world and the region, you and we will discuss these and number of other issues at the Uzbekistan International Poverty Reduction Forum, May 26-27, 2022, Bukhara. The results of the last 5 years of economic reforms, human capital accumulation, support of small business and private entrepreneurship, creating food security and decent jobs through agricultural development, transition to a growth model that benefits all segments of the population equally, development of the green economy. It's all about one goal, economic growth, improving people's life. Principle of human dignity and reform. And poverty reduction. These and other measures taken by the President of the Republic of Uzbekistan, Shavkat Mirziyoyev, on the basis of the principle of human dignity and reforms aimed at economic growth, improving people's lives, and reducing poverty, are now serving the well-being of the people in every mahalla. On the current topic discussed at the Uzbekistan Economic Forum, together with experts from around the world and the region, you and we will discuss these and number of other issues at the Uzbekistan International Poverty Reduction Forum, May 26-27, 2022, Bukhara. The results of the last 5 years of economic reforms, human capital accumulation, support of small business and private entrepreneurship, creating food security and decent jobs through agricultural development. Transition to a growth model that benefits all segments of the population equally. Development of green economy. It's all about one goal: economic growth, improving people's life, and poverty reduction. These and other measures taken by the President of the Republic of Uzbekistan, Shavkat Mirziyoyev, on the basis of the principle of human dignity and reforms aimed at economic growth, improving people's lives, and reduce poverty, are now serving the well-being and social in everybody. On that note, speakers discussed at the Uzbekistan Economic Forum, together with experts from around the world and the region. You and we will discuss these and number of other issues at the Uzbekistan International Poverty Reduction Forum, May 26-27, 2022, Bukhara. The results of the last 5 years of economic reforms, human capital accumulation, support of small business and private entrepreneurship, creating food security and decent jobs through agricultural development, transition to a growth model that benefits all segments of the population equally, development of green economy. It's all about one goal: economic growth, improving people's life, and poverty reduction. These and other measures taken by the President of the Republic of Uzbekistan, Shavkat Mirziyoyev, on the basis of the principle of human dignity and reforms aimed at economic growth, improving people's lives, and reducing poverty, are now serving the well-being of the people in every mahalla. On the current topic discussed at the Uzbekistan Economic Forum, together with experts from around the world and the region. You and we will discuss these and number of other issues at the Uzbekistan International Poverty Reduction Forum, May 26-27, 2022, Bukhara. The results of the last 5 years of economic reforms, human capital accumulation, support of small business and private entrepreneurship, creating food security and decent jobs through agricultural development, transition to a growth model that benefits all segments of the population equally, development of green economy. It's all about one goal: economic growth, improving people's life, and poverty reduction. These and other measures taken by the President of the Republic of Uzbekistan, Shavkat Mirziyoyev, on the basis of the principle of human dignity and reforms aimed at economic growth, improving people's lives, and reducing poverty, are now serving the well-being of the people in every mahalla. On the current topic discussed at the Uzbekistan Economic Forum, together with experts from around the world and the region. You and we will discuss these and number of other issues at the Uzbekistan International Poverty Reduction Forum, May 26-27, 2022, Bukhara. The results of the last 5 years of economic reforms, human capital accumulation, support of small business and private entrepreneurship, creating food security and decent jobs through agricultural development, transition to a growth model that benefits all segments of the population equally, development of green economy. It's all about one goal: economic growth, improving people's life, and poverty reduction. These and other measures taken by the President of the Republic of Uzbekistan, Shavkat Mirziyoyev, on the basis of the principle of human dignity and reforms aimed at economic growth, improving people's lives, and reducing poverty, are now serving the well-being of the people in every mahalla. On the current topic discussed at the Uzbekistan Economic Forum, together with experts from around the world and the region. You and we will discuss these and number of other issues at the Uzbekistan International Poverty Reduction Forum, May 26-27, 2022, Bukhara. The results of the last 5 years of economic reforms, human capital accumulation, support of small business and private entrepreneurship, creating food security and decent jobs through agricultural development, transition to a growth model that benefits all segments of the population equally, development of green economy. It's all about one goal: economic growth, improving people's life, and poverty reduction. These and other measures taken by the President of the Republic of Uzbekistan, Shavkat Mirziyoyev, on the basis of the principle of human dignity and reforms aimed at economic growth, improving people's lives, and reducing poverty, are now serving the well-being of the people in every mahalla. On the current topic discussed at the Uzbekistan Economic Forum, together with experts from around the world and the region, you and we will discuss these and number of other issues at the Uzbekistan International Poverty Reduction Forum, May 26-27, 2022, Bukhara. The results of the last 5 years of economic reforms, human capital accumulation, support of small business and private entrepreneurship, creating food security and decent jobs through agricultural development, transition to a growth model that benefits all segments of the population equally, development of green economy. It's all about one goal: economic growth, improving people's life, and poverty reduction. These and other measures taken by the President of the Republic of Uzbekistan, Shavkat Mirziyoyev, on the basis of the principle of human dignity and reforms aimed at economic growth, improving people's lives, and reducing poverty, are now serving the well-being of the people in every mahalla. On the current topic discussed at the Uzbekistan Economic Forum, together with experts from around the world and the region, you and we will discuss these and number of other issues at the Uzbekistan International Poverty Reduction Forum, May 26-27, 2022, Bukhara. The results of the last 5 years of economic reforms, human capital accumulation, support of small business and private entrepreneurship, creating food security and decent jobs through agricultural development, transition to a growth model.
Forum ishtirokchilari, bir necha daqiqadan so'ng forumning ochilish marosimi boshlanadi. Dear participants, we will start every session of the forum in a few minutes. We will kindly ask you to take your seats as Assalomu alaykum aziz mehmonlar, o'z joylaringizni egallashingizni so'raymiz. Yaqin daqiqalarda forum o'z ishini boshlaydi. Yana bir bor sizning e'tiboringizga minnatdorchilik bildirib, o'z joylaringizni egallashni so'raymiz. Dear ladies and gentlemen, we will start every session of the forum in a few minutes. Please, take your seats.
Cultural development, transition to a growth model that benefits all segments of the population equally, development of green economy. It's all about one goal: economic growth, improving people's life, and poverty reduction. These and other measures taken by the President of the Republic of Uzbekistan, Shavkat Mirziyoyev, on the basis of the principle of human dignity and reforms aimed at economic growth, improving people's lives, and reducing poverty, are now serving the well-being of the people in every mahalla. On the current topic discussed at the Uzbekistan Economic Forum, together with experts from around the world and the region, You and we will discuss these and number of other issues at the Uzbekistan International Poverty Reduction Forum, May 26-27, 2022, Bukhara. The results of the last 5 years of economic reforms, human capital accumulation, support of small business and private entrepreneurship, creating food security and decent jobs through agricultural development, transition to a growth model that benefits all segments of the population equally, development of a green economy. It's all about one goal, economic growth, improving people's life, and poverty reduction. These and other measures taken by the President of the Republic of Uzbekistan, Shavkat Mirziyoyev, on the basis of the principle of human dignity and reforms aimed at economic growth, improving people's lives and reducing poverty, now serving as the leader of the people in every mahalla. And the topic discussed at the Uzbekistan Economic Forum, together with access to the world and the future. You and we will discuss these and the issues that the Uzbekistan International Poverty Reduction Forum, 2022.
Dear ladies and gentlemen, we are starting opening session of the forum in few minutes. Please take your seats. Hurmatli xonimlar va janoblar, forumning ochilish marosimi bir necha soniyalardan keyin boshlanadi.
That benefits all segments of the population equally. It's all about one goal, economic growth, improving people's life, and poverty reduction. These and other measures taken by the President of the Republic of Uzbekistan, Shavkat Mirziyoyev, on the basis of the principle of human dignity and reforms aimed at economic growth, improving people's lives, and reducing poverty, are now serving the well-being of the people in every mahal. And the current topic discussed at the Uzbekistan Economic Forum, together with experts from around the world and the region.
Mulțumim microfonul, să facă o comisiune, mă rog, să faci ceva.
Dear ladies and gentlemen, we are starting the opening session of the forum. Please take your seats. Hurmatli xonimlar va janoblar, bir necha soniyalardan so'ng ochilish marosimi boshlanadi.
Video koyan asistantlar. Endi o'zbek tilida singlisi.
Assalomu alaykum aziz mehmonlar. Sizlarni ko'rib turganimizdan mamnunmiz. Hozir ayni paytda biz jonli efirga chiqyapmiz va hozir 20 soniyadan keyin boshlaymiz. Sizlarga forum mazmunli keladi degan niyatdamiz. Yaxshi kayfiyat tilab qolamiz.
Tayyor misin? Bo'lsa tayyor misin? Сейчас нагрев.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are ready to start in 20 seconds. Hurmatli xonimlar va janoblar, sizlarni O'zbekistonda kambag'allikni qisqartirish xalqaro forumida ko'rib turganimizdan bag'oyatda mamnunmiz. Katta mamnuniyat bilan O'zbekiston Respublikasi Prezidenti Shavkat Mirziyoyevning forum ishtirokchilariga murojaatnomasini o'qib eshitish uchun so'z O'zbekiston Respublikasi Prezidenti maslahatchisi Ravshan Gulamovga. Dear ladies and gentlemen, we are very pleased to see you at the Uzbekistan International Poverty Reduction Forum. With a great pleasure, we invite the advisor to the President of the Republic of Uzbekistan, Mr. Ravshan Gulamov, to read the address of the President of the Republic of Uzbekistan, Shavkat Mirziyoyev, to the forum participants.
Kambag'allikni qisqartirishga bag'ishlangan xalqaro forum ishtirokchilariga. Hurmatli forum ishtirokchilari, xonimlar va janoblar. Siz azizlarni qadimiy va betakror O'zbekiston zaminida Sharq gavhari bo'lgan Buxoro shahrida kambag'allikni qisqartirish bo'yicha xalqaro forum ochilishi bilan chin qalbimdan samimiy muborakbod etib, barchangizga o'zimning chuqur hurmatim va ezgu tilaklarimni izhor qilaman. Biz 2021-yili Shanxay hamkorlik tashkiloti sammitida 22-yilda mamlakatimizda kambag'allikni qisqartirish bo'yicha forum o'tkazish taklifini ilgari surgan edik. O'tgan davrda dunyo miqyosida murakkab pandemiya, global iqtisodiy inqiroz va oziq-ovqat narxlarining tobora oshib borishi bu masalani kun tartibiga keskin qilib qo'yayotganini albatta hammamiz ko'rib turibmiz. Bugungi forumda Birlashgan Millatlar Tashkiloti, Jahon banki, Xalqaro mehnat tashkiloti, Osiyo taraqqiyot banki kabi nufuzli tuzilmalar vakillari hamda jahonning turli davlatlaridan 250 nafar yaqin kishi taniqli ekspert va mutaxassislar ishtirok etgani ushbu masalaga butun dunyoda qiziqish va e'tibor katta ekanini yaqqol ko'rsatib turibdi. Hozirgi kunda o'ta dolzarb bo'lgan ushbu mavzu yuzasidan O'zbekistonda ilk bor o'tkazilayotgan mazkur anjumanni xalqaro tashkilotlar va hamkor davlatlar kambag'allikni qisqartirish borasida ilg'or tajribalarni muhokama qilish hamda birgalikda umumiy harakatlarning rejasini ishlab chiqish uchun ulkan imkoniyatlar bo'lib xizmat qiladi deb ishonaman. Qadrli do'stlar, O'zbekiston 2020-yilda ilk marta o'z aholisi o'rtasida kambag'allik mavjudligini ochiq e'lon qildi. Uni qisqartirish bo'yicha izchil amaliy chora-tadbirlar va qat'iy sa'y-harakatlarni boshladi. Biz Birlashgan Millatlar Tashkilotining barqaror rivojlanish maqsadlariga ko'ra uyg'un holda ishlab chiqarilgan va hozirgi vaqtda jadal amalga oshirilayotgan yangi O'zbekiston taraqqiyot strategiyasida inson qadri uchun degan ezgu tamoyil asosida kambag'allikni qisqartirish bo'yicha ustuvor vazifalarni aniq belgilab oldik. Xususan, strategiyaga kelgusi 5 yilda barqaror va inklyuziv iqtisodiy o'sishga erishish hamda yangi ish o'rinlarini yaratish orqali mamlakatimizda kambag'allik darajasini kamida 2 barobar qisqartirish qat'iy maqsad qilib qo'yganimiz va bunga erishish uchun quyidagi vazifalarni amalga oshirish mo'ljallanmoqda. Birinchidan, iqtisodiyotda xususiy sektor rolini tubdan oshirish, investitsiya va raqobat muhitini yaxshilash orqali aholi jon boshiga yalpi ichki mahsulot hajmini 1.6 barobar ko'paytirish belgilangan. Ikkinchidan, ta'lim va tibbiy xizmatlar sifatini va ko'lamini kengaytirish, jumladan maktabgacha ta'lim qamrovini 80% ga, oliy ta'lim qamrovini 50% ga yetkazish ustuvor ahamiyat berilmoqda. Uchinchidan, aholini zamonaviy kasb hunarga o'qitish hisobiga ularni munosib ish joylari bilan ta'minlash choralari ko'rilmoqda. To'rtinchidan, kambag'al va yordamga muhtoj oilalarga manzilli ijtimoiy himoya tizimidan to'liq qamrab olinadi. Beshinchidan, nogironligi bo'lgan shaxslarning huquqlarini amalda ta'minlash hamda ularni har tomonlama qo'llab-quvvatlash ko'lami kengaytiriladi. Mamlakatimizda ana shunday ustuvor vazifalarni samarali amalga oshirish uchun joriy yildan boshlab jamiyatimizni eng muhim bo'g'ini bo'lgan qariyb 10 mingdan mahallada tadbirkorlikni rivojlantirish, aholi bandligini ta'minlash va kambag'allikni qisqartirish masalalari bo'yicha hokim yordamchilar lavozimlari joriy etildi. Albatta, O'zbekiston kambag'allikni qisqartirish bo'yicha o'z oldida qo'ygan yuksak marralarni amalga oshirishda jahon hamjamiyati bilan yaqindan hamkorlik qiladi va ushbu sohada ijobiy natijalarga erishilgan ilg'or davlatlar tajribasini o'rganadi. Bu borada anjuman ishtirokchilari o'zlarining qimmatli fikr va mulohazalarini, aniq tavsiyalarini bildirib, mazkur global muammoga yangi yondashuv va samarali yechimlar topishga munosib hissa qo'shadilar deb ishonaman. Aminmanki, bugungi forum kambag'allik qisqartirish yo'nalishida hukumatlar, xalqaro tashkilotlar va ekspertlar uchun g'oyat foydali muloqot maydoniga aylanadi. Fursatdan foydalanib, barchangizga mustahkam sog'liq, sharafli va mas'uliyatli faoliyatingizda ulkan kuch-g'ayrat va omadlar, forum ishiga esa katta muvaffaqiyatlar tilayman. Shavkat Mirziyoyev, O'zbekiston Respublikasi Prezidenti.
Xonimlar va janoblar, hurmatli mehmonlar, yana bir bor O'zbekistonda kambag'allikni qisqartirish xalqaro forumida sizni ko'rganimizdan xursandmiz. Ishonamizki, ushbu forum sizda yorqin va unutilmas taassurotlar qoldiradi. Endi esa so'zni O'zbekiston Respublikasi bosh vaziri o'rinbosari, iqtisodiy taraqqiyot va kambag'allikni qisqartirish vaziri Jamshid Qo'chqorovga beramiz. Dear guests, we are glad to see you at the Uzbekistan International Poverty Reduction Forum. We hope this forum will leave you with a bright and unforgettable impressions. Now the floor belongs to the Deputy Prime Minister, Minister of Economic Development and Poverty Reduction at the Republic of Uzbekistan, Mr. Jamshid Qo'chqorov.
Assalomu alaykum. Qadrli mehmonlar, xonimlar va janoblar, bugungi forum ishtirokchilari, O'zbekistonga xush kelibsiz. Bugungi forum O'zbekistonda islohotlarning yangi bosqichida kambag'allikni qisqartirish mavzusini muhokama qilish va tajriba almashish maqsadida xalqaro tashkilotlar, hamkor davlatlar hamda dunyoning taniqli olim va ekspertlarini yagona muloqot platformasiga jamlangani bilan muhim ahamiyat kasb etadi. Bugungi forumda 250 dan ortiq mahalliy va xorijiy iqtisodchilar, hamkor davlat va xalqaro moliya institutlari vakillarining ishtirok etayotgani jahon hamjamiyatining mamlakatimizda ushbu yo'nalishdagi islohotlarga bo'lgan qiziqishidan dalolat beradi. O'zbekiston Respublikasi Prezidenti hurmatli Shavkat Mirziyoyev yetakchiliklarida va ularning kuchli siyosiy irodalari hisobiga 20-yilda mamlakatimiz tarixida ilk bor kambag'allik masalasi iqtisodiy islohotlarning asosiy maqsadlaridan biri etib belgilandi. Qisqa muddatlarda kambag'allikni qisqartirish borasida institutsional tizim yaratilib, fundamental yondashuvlar asosida ta'sirchan mexanizmlar amaliyotga joriy etildi. Bunga amaliyotga joriy etilgan yagona ijtimoiy reyestrni, minimal iste'mol xarajatlari me'yorini, kam ta'minlangan oilalarda har bir bolani qamrab oluvchi manzilli ijtimoiy ko'mak ko'rsatishni hamda aholini kasb hunariga o'rgatish bo'yicha yangi tizimni misol qilib keltirish mumkin. Albatta ushbu jarayonda xalqaro tashkilotlar bilan hamkorlikni yo'lga qo'yilganligi o'zining samarasini ko'rsatmoqda. Yangi O'zbekistonning taraqqiyot strategiyasida ko'zda tutilgan maqsad, ya'ni kambag'allikni 26-yilga qadar 2 barobarga qisqartirish eng asosiy vazifalarimizdan biri bo'lib qolmoqda. Buning uchun xususiy sektorni, jumladan kichik va o'rta biznesning rivojlanishi uchun zarur sharoitlarni ta'minlash va shu orqali barqaror ish joylarini yaratish. Ikkinchidan, inson kapitalini rivojlantirish va mehnat unumdorligini oshirish. Uchinchidan, energiya resurslari narxlarini erkinlashtirish va samarasiz subsidiyalarni optimallashtirish hisobiga ijtimoiy loyihalarga yo'naltirilayotgan davlat resurslari miqdorining manzilliligini oshirish nazarda tutilmoqda. Mazkur jarayonda asosiy e'tibor kam ta'minlangan oilalarni himoya qilishga qaratiladi. Shuningdek, davlat korxonalarini transformatsiya qilish hamda xususiylashtirishni jadallashtirish va mazkur jarayonda raqobat va biznes muhitini yaxshilab borishga katta e'tibor qaratiladi. Shuningdek, qishloq xo'jaligida unumdorlikni oshirish, bunda eng avvalo yer islohotlarini chuqurlashtirish davom ettiriladi. Yashil va raqamli iqtisodiyotga o'tish jarayonlarini tezlashtirishga qaratilgan islohotlar ham davom ettiriladi. Xonimlar va janoblar, kuni kecha Jahon bankining O'zbekiston bilan 22-26-yillarga mo'ljallangan hamkorlik dasturi mazkur institutning ijrochi direktorlari kengashi tomonidan ma'qullanganini mamnuniyat bilan ta'kidlamoqchiman va bu yerda qatnashayotgan Jahon banki vakillariga o'zimizning minnatdorchiligimizni bildirmoqchimiz. Mazkur dastur yangi taraqqiyot strategiyamiz bilan hamohang bo'lib, inklyuziv va bozor iqtisodiyotiga o'tishni jadallashtirishda quyidagi 3 ta strategik maqsadlarni o'z ichiga oladi. Birinchidan, xususiy sektorni rivojlantirish orqali inklyuziv ishchi o'rinlarini yaratish. Ikkinchidan, inson kapitalini rivojlantirish va kambag'allikni qisqartirish. Va uchinchidan, yashil rivojlanish orqali aholi turmush tarzini yaxshilash va iqtisodiyotda samaradorlikni va bardoshlilikni oshirish. Fursatdan foydalanib, mana shu yo'nalishlar bizning, ya'ni O'zbekiston Respublikasi Prezidentining qarorlari bilan tasdiqlangan yangi taraqqiyot strategiyasiga to'liq hamohang ekanligini yana bir bor aytib o'tmoqchiman. Dear ladies and gentlemen, we hope that today's forum will create a good opportunity to discuss the priority directions of achieving the inclusive growth and thus reducing the level of poverty by 2 times during the coming 5 years. We believe that the reform carried out under the strong leadership of the President of Uzbekistan, His Excellency Mr. Shavkat Mirziyoyev, will benefit not only people and entrepreneurs in Uzbekistan, but also create a good opportunity for a resultful cooperation. Dear guest colleagues and friends, the forum consists of 10 panels and 3 roundtables, which involve experienced researchers, representatives of international organizations, partner countries within Shanghai Cooperation Organization, private sector and NGOs, in order to discuss the important topics and directions of poverty reduction agenda in Uzbekistan. There will also be field trips where participants will be able to see different projects implemented in the context of poverty reduction and improving the living conditions of the people. Please use this panel session in the form of interactive discussion and open dialogue by avoiding the maybe boring presentation. Once again, I would like to express my gratitude for each participant of this event, and I hope that this forum will be useful for all of us. Hurmatli hamkasblar, forum ishtirokchilari, sizlardan forumda faol ishtirok etishingizni so'rab qolamiz. E'tiboringiz uchun rahmat. Sog' bo'linglar.
Mana endi so'z Buxoro viloyati hokimi Dr. Zaripovga beriladi. Now the floor belongs to the Hakim of Bukhara region, Mr. Dr. Zaripov.
Assalomu alaykum. Assalomu alaykum. Hurmatli forum ishtirokchilari, xonimlar va janoblar. Avvalo barchangizni 3000 yillik davlatchilik tarixiga ega ko'hna sivilizatsiya va renesanslar beshigi bo'lgan Buxoro-i Sharifda ko'rib turganligimizdan benihoya xursandmiz. Insoniyat yaratilibdiki hamisha yaxshi yashash, boylik va farovonlikka erishish, turmush tarzini yengil va qulay qilishga intilib kelgan. Ana shu intilish insonni ta'lim va innovatsiyalarga keng jalb etib, keyinchalik bu holat sivilizatsiyalar shakllanishiga olib kelgan. Shu bois ham hurmatli prezidentimiz tomonidan yangi O'zbekistonning 3-renesansini barpo etishda birinchi navbatda kambag'alchilikni qisqartirish, aholi turmush darajasini yuksaltirish va eng asosiysi xalqni rozi qilish masalalari ustuvor yo'nalishlardan biri sifatida belgilab berilgan. Hurmatli prezidentimiz 2020-yil boshidagi parlamentga murojaatlarda kambag'allikni qisqartirishni davlat siyosati darajasiga ko'tardilar. Shu bilan birga 2020-yil 24-sentyabr kuni Birlashgan Millatlar Tashkilotining 75-yubiley sessiyasida davlatimiz rahbari o'z nutqlarida tobora tashvishli ohang kasb etayotgan qashshoqlikning ovozi butun dunyo hamjamiyatini, barchamizni bezovta qilishi zarur deb ta'kidlagan edilar. Davlatimiz rahbari tashabbusi bilan aholining ijtimoiy zaif qatlamini aniqlash, kambag'al aholiga ko'mak berish bo'yicha noyob tizim yaratildi. Albatta buni Buxoro viloyatida biz amaliy natijalarni ko'ryapmiz. Birinchi navbatda mana viloyatimizda 544 ta mahalla bo'lsa, mana shu 544 ta mahallaga hokim yordamchilari bevosita o'sha mahalladagi aholini kambag'al qatlamini kambag'alchilikdan chiqarish uchun hokim yordamchilari lavozimi joriy etildi. Bugungi kunda bu noyob tizim o'zini amaliy natijasini viloyatimiz misolida ko'rsatyapti. Birinchi navbatda kambag'alchilikni qisqartirish bo'yicha davlatimiz rahbarining tashabbuslari bilan qishloq xo'jaligida paxta va g'alladan 6000 gektar yerni qisqartirib, aynan mana shu kambag'al aholimizni kambag'al qatlamiga tarqatib berildi. Undan tashqari mana shu joylardagi imkoniyatlar, xizmat ko'rsatishni rivojlantirish, oilaviy tadbirkorlikni rivojlantirish asoslarida viloyatimizda bugungi kunda kambag'alchilikni kundan kunga qisqartirib borilyapti. Manzilli ishlash uchun temir daftar noyob tizimi joriy qildi. Biz bugunda bilamiz, mana shu temir daftarga kiritilgan fuqarolarimiz bilan manzilli ravishda ishlayapmiz. Bundan tashqari albatta bu borada ko'plab gapirish mumkin. Ikkinchi katta yo'nalish bu aholimizning ijtimoiy himoyasiga, ya'ni maktabgacha ta'lim, maktab, oliygohlarda tarbiya, undan tashqari tibbiyot masalalari bugungi kunda davlatimiz rahbari topshiriqlariga ko'ra alohida nazoratga olingan. Bu boradagi mablag'lar ham hal qilib berilgan. Aynan ilgari biz tasavvur ham qila olmasdik. Mana shu byudjetni orttirib bajarilgan qismini hozir hokimlar bemalol kambag'alchilikni qisqartirishga va aholini qiynayotgan yo'l, suv, tibbiyot, ma'rif, ilm olish, maktabgacha ta'lim hamma ijtimoiy masalalarga yo'naltirish mumkin. Men o'ylayman, bu ham bugungi kunda o'zini bir noyob tizimligi jihatdan samarasini ko'rsatyapti. Hurmatli forum qatnashchilari, albatta mana avvalambor bugungi forum ishiga katta muvaffaqiyatlarni tilayman va Buxoro viloyatida amalga oshirilayotgan ishlar bo'yicha mana forum davomida sizlar o'zlaringiz shohidi bo'lasizlar. Biz hozir mana shu kambag'alchilikni qisqartirish bo'yicha obyektlarimiz ham tayyor. Buni joyida ko'rish imkoniyatiga ega bo'lasizlar. E'tiborlaringiz uchun katta rahmat.
Hurmatli forum ishtirokchilari, umid qilamizki, mazkur forum sizda yangi O'zbekistonni yaqindan kashf etish uchun muhim imkoniyat vazifasini o'taydi. Shanxay hamkorlik tashkiloti bosh kotibi Chan Min tomonidan yo'llangan video murojaatni tomosha qilish uchun e'tiboringizni ekranlarga qaratishingizni so'raymiz. Dear participants, we hope that this forum will serve as an important opportunity for you to explore new Uzbekistan more closely. We would like to draw your attention to the screen to view the video message from SCO Secretary General Chan Min.
张起各位的女士们，感谢我们这次的倡议会的本次国际建筑论坛，在这论坛。
Tadbirkoringiz uchun katta rahmat. Keyingi murojaatimda esa Birlashgan Millatlar Tashkiloti Taraqqiyot dasturi bosh kotib o'rinbosari va yordamchi ma'muri Usha Rao Manari tomonidan. Thank you for your attention. The next video message is addressed by the Under Secretary General and Associate Administrator of the United Nations Development Programme, Usha Rao Manari.
Distinguished guests, I'm pleased to join you for appropriate efforts discussing the country's future development with the principle of poverty. Addressing poverty and inequality is only linked with an excellent community. Human capability are the core of sustainable development. We will continue in 2019 human development report contributors have been putting up equally enhanced capability for the 21st century. And the good ensure environmental natural resources and balance and love. For the third time in the general, the quest to end poverty that are reached setback with COVID-19, which pushed us 110 billion people. 80% to be used for our favorite impact. That the government is contributing urbanized, working in the informal sector with some of the emotions of the cost. Achievement actions are the people ways in people's effect. There are many investments to take on the urban steps. I would also like to first, looking to the optimal with alcohol and food measures is not enough. We must fundamentally revisit the human development of this system, which has to be of a particular magnitude, not only keep the relevant and also empower them with the right opportunities to build. Second, we will principally remember maybe planning in some parts of the world, but new threats are emerging. Systems and policy that have been more resilient and prepared to respond to future crises. Over the past year, the public discussion makes steady progress in the attainment of national achievements, and virtually. Income policy decline from 24% in 2000 to 11.5% in 2020, which meant 52.2 million people were employed. However, interregional and urban rural disparities are still present, and the pandemic has estimated the additional 1 million people in the country. Policies in Uzbekistan relate to this of Argentina. A very ambitious goal that always pushes by 2026 and achieving an upper minimum status at 2030. Is large, transformative policy and system. UNDP relates to the support on this journey to develop digital points. In addition to this matter, UNDP commits to empower 100 million poor and marginalized people globally to explain multi-dimensional poverty measures implementers. UNDP aims to use state-of-the-art tools and metrics to identify the extent and impact of multi-dimensional policy. Even stronger now, it reduces social protection for a comprehensive and well-synchronized policy and empower people to have activities in their country's inclusive, resilient, and green recovery. The central approach is to maximize instead of holistically to ensure that physically and active on the multiple and interconnected priorities and support on further people, economies, and society. The initiation of a new package of reforms in Uzbekistan is an opportunity to scale development for the more sustainable and inclusive path that reverses inequality, tackles poverty, and ensure long-term human security. UNDP will continue to support the ongoing transformation of Uzbekistan and help to drive forward a green, fair, and more inclusive economic growth pathway. And thank you.
E'tiboringiz uchun katta rahmat. Ijozatingiz bilan forumning birinchi panel yig'ilishini boshlaymiz. Marhamat, moderator bilan tanishing. Rolio Asana, Birlashgan Millatlar Tashkilotining O'zbekistondagi doimiy vakili. With your permission, we will start the first plenary session of the forum. Please meet the moderator, Rolio Asana, United Nations Resident Coordinator in Uzbekistan.
Good morning, everyone. Assalamu alaikum, Aziz Dostlar. Good morning, dear friends. Great pleasure to be here with you in beautiful Bukhara and to be inviting a very eminent panel onto the stage in just a minute to discuss with them some of the issues that you will hear discussed in much greater detail for the rest of the conference. So welcome, everyone. And thank you particularly to the Ministry of Economy and Poverty Reduction and the government of Uzbekistan for convening us here. I'm particularly pleased that we were able to support, particularly UNDP and World Bank colleagues have been able to support both the strategy and the conference itself. I'm Roli Asthana. I'm the UN resident coordinator here in Uzbekistan. And I work here with a team of UN country team of 25 funds, agencies, and programs, all supporting the government of Uzbekistan to deliver the UN Sustainable Development Cooperation Framework in support of the National Development Strategy of New Uzbekistan. And that is a partnership we very proudly hold with Deputy Prime Minister Kuchkarov and the Ministry of Economy and Poverty Reduction. I've been here in Uzbekistan 3 months, still on a learning curve. So I'm hoping that this conference will be a major part of my learning curve. But I've been in poverty studies and working on poverty and development for over 25 years. My first job as an academic was teaching a postgraduate course on poverty at the London School of Economics. And since then, I have worked on poverty reduction in one way or the other in the Middle East, in Africa, in South Asia, in East Asia, and now here in Central Asia. And poverty reduction, I guess, has been a story both personal and professional for me. Personally, I would say my family story in post-independence India is a story of poverty reduction strategies. My grandfather was a first-generation migrant from a very poor rural area in North India to a semi-skilled job in urban India, in urban North India. He then saved and worked hard to put my father through a very elite university, who then spent 40 years in the Indian civil service. I feel that I'm building on the work of them so that it happens quickly. It happens in a couple of generations. My own grandmother couldn't read or write. My mother was a postgraduate, but was never expected to work or have a career. I grew up being told by my parents that I'd better not just study, but also have a career because nobody else was going to support me. So these things happen. They happen in a couple of generations, but it requires a community, a government, and an entire society's effort. It requires a strategy, and that's what we are here to discuss. Every region, every country in the world has its own drivers of poverty, its own drivers of what keeps some people poor, some people vulnerable. In the 25 years that I've been working on this, the poverty literature has moved on, but to be honest, the challenge remains and will always remain because poverty is a relative concept. Poverty is about vulnerability and resilience and entitlements as much as it is about absolute standards of well-being or nutrition or other sorts of basic rights and entitlements. We in the UN are proud to support the government on so many aspects of poverty reduction, particularly on the strategy, the work done by UNDP and our close partners at the World Bank, which reflects the multidimensional nature of poverty, which is something you just heard my colleague from the UNDP talk about. Which includes not just economic well-being, but also health, education, and very importantly, environment and ecology. So you're going to hear lots of people over the course of the next day and a half talk about this. I am now going to take the opportunity, please, to invite on stage our very eminent panel. Please come and join me on stage.
Yes, Rana, thank you for your speech. Dear participants, please meet the speakers. Mr. Jamshid Kuchkarov, Deputy Prime Minister of the Republic of Uzbekistan, Minister of Economic Development and Poverty Reduction. Mr. Rashan Gulamov, Advisor to the President of the Republic of Uzbekistan for the Development of Economic Sectors, Implementation of Investment and Foreign Trade Policy. Lutfi Elvan, Turkish Coalition, Former Minister of Finance and Treasury of Turkey. Sabina Altuğ, Director of Excellent Policy and Human Development Initiative. Lalita Murti, Regional Director for Europe and Central Asia. Levan Varshavanidze, former Chairman of the Government of the Autonomous Republic of Georgia, and Ms. Zuleyha Mahkamova, Deputy Prime Minister, Chairman of the State Committee of Women and Family of the Republic of Uzbekistan.
Thank you, please.
Okay. Thank you very much, dear panel. The way I'm proposing to do this is I will start with our senior government speakers. I will pose questions to all of you, and then go on to our expert speakers, our international speakers, and then, if I may, come back to our government speakers for any last-minute comments they might have in response to the international speakers. So if that is okay, I'll start with you, Deputy Prime Minister Kuchkarov. So we've come through the first stage of reforms, started the second stage, and we are looking here at poverty reduction from the prism of reforms and reforms from the prism of poverty reduction. Given the current challenges that we are facing globally, and poverty reduction, sustainable development goals are under threat around the world, how are you feeling about the current progress, challenges, and prospects of reforms and tackling poverty in Uzbekistan?
Rory, thank you very much for this question. Yes, now beginning 2022, Uzbekistan is beginning a new stage of reform, which were identified in the development strategy of Uzbekistan, which were prepared under leadership of His Excellency President of the country, Mr. Shavkat Mirziyoyev. And what kind of reform is very much important in second stage of the reform? I think before that we need a little bit give some brief about what were done during in the first stage of economic reform in Uzbekistan. If you remember, some main reforms like foreign exchange liberalization or openness of statistics, tax reform, and many others were some kind of flagship reform in first 5 years of the economic reform in Uzbekistan. And in the second stage, we are going to face much complicated economic reform. You know, in first stage of economic reforms, they were some kind of pleasant reform. You know, for example, foreign exchange liberalization, it makes many people much comfortable even in their everyday life. But today we are talking about tariff reform, tariff for energy sources, for electricity, for gas, or bread price liberalization, or SOE reform, or land reform. All of that much complicated, some of them hurtful. And from this point, I would say that basically government is very much keen on that direction. And, you know, in today's forum, it's a little bit uncomfortable for me to speak about bread price liberalization or tariff increase, but I would like to inform all of the participants of today's forum that main stone of this reform anyway will be social support for vulnerable categories of our population. Will be certain steps which would neutralize all of hurts by reform. I think some of you, sorry, I'm a little bit long, so maybe some of you already informed that yesterday were announced a new decree, presidential decree about one-time payments to people, to retired people, for the people who are receiving social allowances for their children, and before that were decree on wage increased by 12%. So all of this means that anyway, these reforms, of course, will be not pleasant reforms, but government is trying to neutralize the negative effects of this reform. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Deputy Prime Minister. I think that was a set of really important points, and particularly about the importance of combining reform, social protection, a focus on jobs, and particularly on a focus on measurement and progress as well. So thank you for that. We are very lucky this morning also to be joined by Deputy Prime Minister Zuleko Makkamova, who's chair of the State Committee on Family and Women. I was curious to hear from you what you see as the role of women and the importance of gender equality in poverty reduction in Uzbekistan and more generally.
Assalomu alaykum. Ushbu forum ishtirokchilari, xonimlar va janoblar. O'zbekiston Respublikasida gender tenglikni ta'minlash bo'yicha 2019-yilda qabul qilingan qonun asosida ijtimoiy, iqtisodiy, siyosiy barcha sohalarda imkoniyatlardan, resurslardan teng foydalanish imkoniyatini beruvchi qonun ishlab chiqildi. Qonun asosida bugun prezidentimizning mana shu sohada olib borayotgan ishlari har bir qonunlarni, har bir qabul qilinayotgan qarorlarda gender ekspertizadan o'tkazish va muhim qarorlar qabul qilishda albatta ayollar, xotin-qizlar masalalari e'tiborga olinishi belgilab qo'yildi va bugungi kunda xotin-qizlarni jamiyatda faolligini oshirish bo'yicha shu yil prezidentimiz farmonlari, ikkita farmonlari chiqdi. Bu farmon doirasida albatta bugungi xotin-qizlarni faolligini oshirish, ularni kasb-hunarga o'qitish, ularni bandligini ta'minlash, eng asosiysi iqtisodiy imkoniyatlarni kengaytirish hisobiga kambag'allikni qisqartirish masalalari hal etib borilyapti. Bugun hamma respublikamizning 14 ta hududida oila va xotin-qizlarni qo'llab-quvvatlash bo'yicha yangi bir ustuvor ahamiyatga ega bo'lgan yangi boshqarmalar ish boshlaganligi, respublikada qo'mitaning faoliyatida ham bosh masala sifatida xotin-qizlarni bandligini ta'minlash, kasb-hunarga o'qitishni kengaytirish, imkoniyati cheklangan xotin-qizlarni ham bugungi kunda ularning imkoniyatlarini ro'yobga chiqarish, xohishlarini, ularning qobiliyatlariga mos ravishda iqtisodiy imkoniyatlarni kengaytirish masalasi bo'yicha davlat darajasida ustuvor ahamiyatga ega bo'lgan islohotlar amalga oshirilyapti. Mana shu ma'noda bugun mamlakatimizda 9300 dan ziyod mahalla fuqarolar yig'inida xotin-qizlar faollari har bir xonadondagi ayollarni, oilalarni o'rganib borish bilan birgalikda ularni imkoniyatlarini, ularga ish bilan ta'minlashdi. Bizning imkoniyatlarimiz juda ham kengligi, joylarda yangi investitsion dasturlar asosida yaratilayotgan ish o'rinlari, xotin-qizlarni tadbirkorlikka o'qitish markazlarining faoliyati, Mehnat vazirligining monomarkazlari orqali juda ham katta kasb-hunarga o'qitish ishlari amalga oshirilmoqda. Mana shu ma'noda bugun xotin-qizlarimiz o'rtasida bugun tadbirkorlik faoliyatini olib borayotgan, butun dunyoga to'g'ridan-to'g'ri eksport amaliyotini yo'lga qo'yayotgan juda ham ko'plab ayollarimiz bugun o'z faoliyatlarini olib borishmoqda. Bir vaqtning o'zida imkoniyati cheklangan oilalarga davlat xizmatlarini mahallani o'ziga borib, oilasida borib ularni qo'llab-quvvatlash, ijtimoiy himoyasini kuchaytirish bo'yicha 16 ta vazirlikning xizmatlari bugun oilalarga kirib borayotganligi va inson omiliga, inson qadrini oshirishga qaratilgan eng katta muhim omil ekanligini guvohi bo'lyapmiz. Bugun hayotning har bir qadamida oilani qo'llab-quvvatlash, har bir sohada amalga oshirilayotgan ishlarda farovon oilani, demak, bugun ta'lim darajasi, bandlik darajasi ta'minlangan va eng asosiysi ma'naviy axloqiy qadriyatlari shakllangan va qadriyatlari saqlangan oilada farovon oila deyilyaptiki, ana shu farovon oiladagi iqtisodiy barqarorlik, ijtimoiy barqarorlik hammasi yurtimizda bo'layotgan barcha islohotlardagi o'zini samarasini quyi tizimda har bir oilagacha yetkazib berish tizimi yo'lga qo'yilgan. Albatta bu sohada gender tenglikni ta'minlash borasida prezidentimizning eng ustuvor yo'nalishlari xotin-qizlarni ta'lim olishlari. Har bir sohada xotin-qizlarni davlat boshqaruv xizmatlaridagi, parlamentdagi o'rnini va har bir korxona, tashkilot, vazirlik darajasida ham ana shunday gender tenglik masalalari bilan ish olib boruvchi alohida mas'ullarni biriktirilganligi o'zini samarasini beryapti va xotin-qizlarni bugun har bir sohada tengma-teng imkoniyatlardan foydalanish imkoniyati ham bugun yurtimizdagi kambag'allikni qisqartirishdagi eng katta omil bo'lib hisoblanyapti. Rahmat.
Thank you, Deputy Prime Minister. And absolutely right that we have a targeted approach to involve women in every aspect of economic life, because otherwise it's a net loss to the entire country. I worked in China just before coming here, and they have a saying that women hold up half the sky. If you don't have women holding up half the sky properly, then the sky will fall in on all of us. So that's very important work and very important words. Mr. Gulyamov, next question to you, if I may.
Yes.
So the National Development Strategy of New Uzbekistan, the country has now committed to halving poverty by 2026, which is ahead of the previous National Sustainable Goal, NSDG #1, which was to do it by 2030. So it's great to see that level of ambition, but I was wondering, in your opinion, what needs to be done to accelerate Uzbekistan's progress to achieving this goal?
Thank you. And, I can say shortly everything, but let me focus on 5 pillars. First is entrepreneurship. And as people say that the inflow rises all boats. So if we increase the income, then maybe the most important thing is in fighting against poverty. And here we see that the new jobs, we support entrepreneurs. So in every mahalla, small community of Uzbekistan, now we have the movement of leader entrepreneurs, we call it. So the people who are entrepreneurs themselves, and by supporting them, then we create jobs. But second, there are people who are not able to be entrepreneurs, but they're ready to work. So we support creating new jobs and we provide skills to them. So we teach them. That's the first. Second is the infrastructure, because usually poverty goes along with the bad infrastructure, roads, water, and other infrastructure. So we have special program in Uzbekistan. It calls Good Mahalla and Good Village. So we develop the infrastructure. Third is important is the human capital. So the special program on education and the healthcare, especially in the remote villages and rural areas. Fourth is the social protection, as Mr. Kuchkarov said, the reform of the social protection system. And the fifth, and maybe the most important, is the active participation of the people itself. Because especially young, because 60% of population of Uzbekistan is under 30. So we need to provide opportunities, we need to provide social lists, and we need the active role of young people in reforming their lives. And the same with the women, as Ms. Vakama said, that the gender issues and creating equal opportunities to women is also very important. So this is in short the 5 pillars of work, and we hope that everything is important, but all together, when we do the exact and other actions on all of them, that will be successful. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm sure we'll come back to you at the end, but everything is important is the bottom line here. And I think the combined challenge for the government and for those of us in the international community supporting you is how do we convert all of the priorities into a prioritized strategy so that across economic growth, social protection, gender, and also participation and voice for all communities. So I think that is the challenge and the strategy to address it. So, Mr. Elvan, coming to you, from an international perspective, I mean, you were at the top of Turkey's government for a long time, most recently as Minister for Finance and Treasury, but also development before that. So it would be great to hear from you a kind of global perspective on how poverty reduction has been achieved in other parts of the world, and particularly lessons from Turkey that Uzbekistan and its poverty reduction strategy could take.
Thank you very much. Let me say first a few words regarding the general poverty. Poverty is really a global threat for us that we are all facing today. First, COVID-19 pandemic, then war between Russia and Ukraine, having serious negative spillovers on the global poverty and income inequalities. Well, eradicating poverty is in all its forms remains one of the greatest challenges facing humanity. If we look at the UN estimates, more than 40% of the world population is below poverty line. Again, more than 10% of the global population below in extreme poverty line. So this is really important. Of course, we have a sustainable development goal for ending poverty at the global level by 2030. I'm sorry to say that we are far from the target at the moment. For an effective public policy, I believe that it is necessary to analyze the main causes of poverty. Of course, there are macro causes that are beyond the control of individuals, and there are some micro causes. I mean, what I mean by macro causes, rapid population growth, inflation, economic crisis, inadequacy of social security system, structural impediments in the labor market, and the effects of course, globalization on income inequalities. On micro side, or in other words, structural drivers of the poverty, such as the number of households, as you mentioned, gender and education becomes really important. The most effective way to combat poverty is to increase employment and to ensure that people have a decent job. However, having a good job is directly related to high quality education. For this reason, enabling equal opportunity in accessing to education, regardless of income, gender, or region, should be #1 priority. While providing equal opportunities, macro policies of the government, such as growth and fiscal priorities, should be supportive and complementary. In developing countries, poverty cycles induce low national income, low savings, insufficient employment, and inadequate public expenditure. This in turn reduced the value added in the economy and threatened the quality of labor force and public services. Therefore, it is vital to reduce the burden of social policies with sound economic policies while fighting against poverty. Permanent reduction in poverty could be achieved through sustainable production, not by social assistance. Of course, social assistance is important. I'm not saying that it is not important. It is important, but for a sustainable way is to fight against poverty is really to concentrate on the employment side, production side, and efficiency side, and so on. Well, it is really more difficult to earn income, but it is easier to transfer it from someone to anyone else, with the help of the public power. I mean, this is the reality. Therefore, promoting a competitive investment environment focused on high value-added areas, coupled with macroeconomic stability, forms the basis of the fight against poverty. Let me share some of our experience here in this part in Turkey. Turkey has really made a significant progress in reducing poverty in the last 2 decades. During this period, the proportion of population living on less than $2.15 per person per day has declined from 3.4% to below 1%. Of course, now UN considers 1.9% for extreme poverty line. When we look at that figure, again, the proportion of the population living on less than $1.9 per day has declined to 0.4% in Turkey, which is really a great success, I must say this. The main drivers of this improvement have been macroeconomic stability until the pandemic period, with prudent macro policies and programs put into practice, and annual average growth of around 5%, which has nearly tripled the per capita income, and nearly 10 million job creation, thanks to high growth and investment appetite, and implementation of tax, expenditure, and income policies to reduce poverty and income inequality without compromising budget discipline. While achieving this, we give utmost attention to the public financial reforms, especially social security reforms. We were able to increase domestic saving levels, which stood at around 15% of GDP for many years, increased to 25%, thanks to our effective policies like introduction of private pension system. This facilitated the financing of investments and provided significant support to growth and employment, and thus limited poverty. Of course, in addition to that, we also put into practice some social programs that could contribute a lot to poverty reduction. For example, in 2022 budget, 6% of the budget is allocated for only social assistance program. It was 1.3% about 15 years ago, so it has quite been increased. But of course, human capital is really important, I must say this, and restoring new jobs, increasing employment, reskilling and upskilling the current workers, eliminating structural unemployment, developing unemployed insurance system, and strongly supporting formal economy principles. And then there will be real and sustainable reduction in poverty levels. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was like a masterclass in poverty reduction strategy. And I think it could only have come from someone who's both a technocrat and has had hands-on experience in making and implementing policy. I think it was sobering what you said at the beginning about the challenges we are facing in the world today. The SDGs, including on poverty, are under threat. And it requires all of us to work together even more to make sure that we not only rescue the SDGs, but also we leave no one behind as we do that. And I think it would be great in the end to hear again from Mr. Kuchkarov and Mr. Gulyamov about some of the strategic priorities you're thinking about, all of the ones I think that Mr. Elvan just talked about. Jobs, growth with jobs, jobs of the future, jobs created by the private sector today, human capital formation, social protection, and most of all, metrics, actually understanding who the poor are, where they are, and why they are poor. So thank you. That was great. Coming next to Ms. Alkire, Dr. Alkire. You're, of course, one of the pioneers on the whole methodology of multidimensional poverty. The Alkire Foster method is widely recognized and respected around the world. And you work in a variety of countries around the world on looking at multidimensional poverty and trends. So it would be great for our audience here at the forum to hear from you. What is the importance of having a multidimensional understanding of poverty measurement? And how can government policymakers make best use of the concept and measure of multidimensional poverty?
Thank you so much. Assalamu alaikum. I'm first of all delighted to be here in such a courageous and visionary and compassionate forum, and also in Bukhara, where I had my first morning walk, and it's beautiful. So multidimensional poverty recognizes what we have already heard, that, as Amartya Sen put it, human lives are battered and diminished in many different ways: health and education, gender discrimination, lack of infrastructure, lack of productive capacity and jobs. And what a multidimensional poverty metric does is it tries to see which deprivations a person is experiencing at the same time. Is somebody undernourished or in food security? Is a child or a young adult not in school, not in work? Is there a lack of infrastructure in the household, or a lack of decent work? And a multidimensional measure then collects these and usually sits as a sister to a monetary measure. And so what is so interesting for me in Uzbekistan is the goal to cut it by half by 2026. And that's a very, very clear objective. And part of that will be cutting monetary poverty. But if you put a child in school, if you improve a health clinic, it will maybe not show up in monetary poverty by 2026. So a multidimensional poverty measure can show the change immediately. And so it acts as a management tool or a measurement tool to make visible these changes in human capital and capabilities and jobs and infrastructure. So the first question is, in a sense, is it possible to cut it by half? And in a sense, yes. Bhutan, Nepal, two countries both cut their national MPI by 1/2 in 5 years. And they did it through different ways. And now we are privileged with IPRCC colleagues online who are part of the steering committee to be secretariat of a 61-country South-South network of people learning how to use metrics. What do they do? In Colombia, you mentioned targeting. They slightly adjusted their targeting to capture people who were both monetary and multidimensional poor. They graduated when they had stopped both kinds of poverty. In Colombia, they were in a time of fiscal austerity. So they looked at budget allocation across the territories and across the indicators of MPI, and they reallocated with no increase in budget, and poverty reduction accelerated. A very important strategy for this community gathered who will speak these next 2 days is coordination. We know that if we have a bucket of water and we sprinkle it, it goes into the ground. But if we put it in a channel, it can gather force and it can move something. And you have in this room experts on so many parts of poverty. And one challenge and success has been to coordinate them, which requires the leadership. For example, in Colombia, President Santos, Nobel Prize laureate, and his successor Duque had a roundtable that they chaired as president of the Republic, which had all of the ministers, and they met 2 or 3 times a year to see how they were doing, what indicators were stuck, what could they do to accelerate the reduction. They set a goal, like Uzbekistan, and they met their goal, and they set another, and now they are in their 3rd goal. They use a management strategy alongside measurement for that purpose. So I think it is possible, in a sense, and it is also vital to use the MPI, if that measure is created here, for more in-depth analysis. You can see which provinces have the highest levels of poverty, but you can also see in terms of children out of school or people without jobs, are they girls or boys, men or women? Are all children in the house deprived or just one? So you can take a deeper look into child and gender aspects of poverty and disaggregate in Latin America by indigenous status, in other places, Pakistan down to the district level. So that gives a razor sharp look at who is poor and how they are poor by each of these indicators. And then you can see if the poorest reduced poverty the fastest and give an award and celebrate their leadership and learn. So I think that the hope is that metrics can be a tool, not just to measure, but to shape policy, to make success visible, to learn from parts of the country that are doing well, and to be alongside other metrics of growth, jobs, and monetary poverty to mark this period of reform. I close only with the image of a football team. Again, in this room, we have so many different skills, and it would be so easy for us to compete and to try to have environment or gender or health or education be the most important. But the lives of people who are suffering are too important. So poverty is a team sport. We have to play together. We have to play to win. And in these 2 days, we will learn what other people are good at so we can pass the ball to them for that and then celebrate a success in 2026. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Kuchkava.
Thank you. Very interesting speech, Sabina. We all come here to find out some answers. Of course, there are no ready receipts how to solve this problem. As you said, the target, which is reducing poverty by 2 times in 5 years. My question is to you, Sabina, and also to Lalita. What would you say as 2 must-do actions for Uzbek government on poverty reduction? and only 1.5 minutes for the answer. You know, people, even I am 58 or someone 40, but we still continue to believe to the some magics, you know. Every morning I say to myself, Jamshid, that doesn't work. But by afternoon, again, I am looking for some magic, you know. Here's my two first deputies. And I say them, tell me what to do. One of them practitioner, second is scientist. I am just bureaucrat, you know. So I say them, tell me what to do. You know, even we call here, we need leapfrog growth, you know. So my question is that maybe you or Lalita, if you have some magic answers, what we must do, and we will do it on Monday. Tell us. Thank you.
I am a very beginner student of Uzbekistan, and you have so many experts. Two things other people could improve upon. Often the dimensions of poverty are interlinked, and it is cheapest to address them together. Like bowling, with one ball, you want to hit 10 pins. And so a quick analysis of interlinkages means that the policies hit several, take them away, reduce it. And for a multidimensional poverty measure, if any deprivation of any poor person goes down, poverty goes down immediately. So that's one. The other is, in a sense, what I think is here, but is the clarity of the goal and the invitation. You mentioned the private sector. The private sector in many countries is a very passionate partner. President Santos invited his CEO friends to take their relaxed clothes, go to the field with one of these clipboards we have in our bag, talk to a poor family about their life. And they came back changed CEOs. They said, what can we do? And so this clarity and invitation, she talked about empowerment, but empowering the poor communities and also other actors to be part of this. I think many hands will make light work, and your vision will inspire others.
Thanks, Sabina. Lalita, before I bring you in to answer the Deputy Prime Minister's direct question to you, can I also then ask you after that to expand to the role of IFIs in poverty reduction, and you have an overview across Central Asia. So tell us a little bit about what you see as priorities, ways of financing. Financing is under particular pressure worldwide, and IFIs have a major role in financing. So situate Uzbekistan for us in the Central Asian region and Central Asia more globally. But also, of course, start by answering the Deputy Prime Minister's question to you.
Thanks very much, Rolly. With your permission, if I might just take a minute to thank the government of Uzbekistan for hosting us. And I'm joined, and you can see how much importance we at the World Bank attach to this issue of poverty reduction, because I'm joined by my colleague Tatiana, Marco, Salman Zaidi, our entire poverty and equity team. So we've shown up here in a lot of strength just because we attach a lot of importance to this topic. Now, to answer your question, Mr. Deputy Prime Minister, I think the older I grow, the more modest I become about how whether we have silver bullets that will completely transform an economy. There is just no magic on and off switch, and it takes time and it takes patience, but we will get there. I think definitely Uzbekistan will get there. If you ask me what are the two things to do, the first no-brainer is invest in your people. So I completely agree with Sabina and Elvin that, you have to educate your population. And the way out of poverty, the way out of, say, lower middle income to higher income is education. There's just no way out and away from that. So invest in your people, health, education, nutrition. I think that becomes very critical. And the second thing I would say as a macroeconomist and a person focusing on growth is you need to have a more market-driven, private sector-led growth. Because that creates jobs, and those jobs, because people are educated and healthy, can participate in the growth process. So I think those become very important. And while you're talking about inclusive growth, of course, having women participate becomes also very critical, because you cannot grow without 50% of your population sitting it out, right? So you need everybody to participate in that growth. So I think investing in people, private sector-led, job-creating growth, that's really what would, I think, address some of the concerns that you have, Mr. Deputy Prime Minister. But it takes time and it takes patience, but you will get there. In terms of, poverty reduction, when we talk about it, most of the people talk about social safety nets. I think social safety nets are very critical. Not just because you want to help out people, but because, every time an economy goes through shocks, of economic shocks like we are seeing right now, COVID or the Russia-Ukraine war, and how it kind of shock waves come to your country, you need to protect people through social safety nets, because what happens is when you look at the poor, when they are going through shocks, they generally tend to withdraw their kids from school. Or they, start to make poorer nutritional choices. And that kind of then not only affects their current potential, but also future growth potential of the country. So having good, well-targeted social safety nets is a priority. Also, when you do reforms to, say, grow from a state-led growth to a private market-led growth, even then some people fall through the cracks. And it's very important to protect them through a good social safety net. But social safety net is just a basic necessity. What you need for poverty reduction, or the flip side of the coin, is growth. There is just no way out of it. You need to grow and grow in a very inclusive manner. So bringing everybody else along with you. And how do you get there? You get there through structural transformation of your economy. So you're going from a centrally planned economy to a market-driven economy. You're going through extractive, natural resource dependent economy to a more vibrant, diverse economy that produces multiple goods and produces goods that are of higher quality, so your people can earn more. I think these are all very important. As we look through Central Asia, I see countries like Kazakhstan that grew very rapidly for some period of time, but now you see their per capita incomes have been declining for the past 5 years. Kazakhstan was a high-income country for just a year, and then it started to fall again. That's because it's kind of lost the growth model, which is based on extractives, has lost its steam. And it's very important for the country to diversify and grow. And we see that Uzbekistan has started to make this transition. We are seeing a private sector develop. We are seeing people's lives getting better. And I'm sure this will continue to accelerate in the future. Kyrgyz Republic and Tajikistan have their own problems with growth. Most of the productive or sources of growth are dominated by the state. So the more the state gets out of it, the more the private sector can develop and grow. We at the World Bank focus on several things in all these countries and finance it through our programs and our lending. We focus a lot on private sector development. We focus on enabling the state to go from or changing the role of the state from dominating the productive sectors to actually becoming more enabling for the private sector to grow. we invest in people, but then let me not leave out another very important point, that is green kind of a growth. Your growth needs to be green and clean. So when I say growth, I'm qualifying it now with inclusive, but also a green and clean growth. And if that Uzbekistan, now it sounds very simple, but it's very difficult to do in practice. And we are happy to work closely with you, Mr. Deputy Prime Minister, for you to get there. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lalita. So there is no alternative to growth. You've got to keep growing the size of the pie, but at the same time, you've got to have policies that make sure that you have a more or less fair distribution of the pie, but no one is left without any piece of the pie. I don't want to carry the analogy too far, but thank you for that. Now, our final international speaker today, Ms. Sava Shalomidze, you are the only one among the panel today who's coming from with experience of doing this at a regional level, at the head of a regional government. And of course, we can make policy centrally, we can study it, and we can finance it, but at the end of the day, it's implemented locally. All policy is implemented locally, and I'd really like to hear your perspective on your experience of doing this regionally and situating it also in a global perspective, given the geographical position of Adjara in Georgia.
Thank you so much. First of all, thank you for invitation. It's honor. And thank you, team of Ministry of Economy, for giving me a motivation to participate in this conference forum, and as well as continue my future conference. And I truly believe that economic reforms, Uzbek reforms, will be able to implement and including increasing country's role in the world. So, and today windows of opportunities is open. Economically fast and effective steps are needed to take. So, back to your questions. We should understand where was Georgia after collapsing the Soviet Union. So, Georgia lost 75% of economy. And when we started in the government, 2004, it was really poor country. And one of the example, I will give you, even pension, it was like $8, $10, and nobody giving in advance. The people waiting like 3, 4, 5, 6 months. That was a country. And from perspective of Georgia, it's very interesting how we did it. Of course, your question, I will divide it like in two parts. First, I think already colleagues mentioned, job creation, and job creation. And second part, of course, is social guarantee. Social guarantee for pensions, social guarantee for different people. I don't mention. If you back to first part of the question, what is the job creation? Of course, we should divide it on two levels. First level, it's a central government level, and of course, it's a second level, it's a local government. Central government connecting to education, tax, privatization, and what I saw and what before this visit I looking for some different region. So all do great in Uzbekistan, but we have a second stage. What's happening with the local government? And I will tell you our experience for local government. Of course, 2004 when we started, we don't have the experience how to start. And even experience is one, and second stage is no money. And connecting with two issues, it's very complicated to do something. And for that reason, we understand that local government should create it like a strategy. And in this process, we invited not only government sector, not only international experts, we invited people and private sector. It was a really good success when we take like a top 5 priorities and starting develop. But believe me, It's not takes like every 5 years. We should update it every year, even twice per year. Because 21st century is too fast changing in the world. So for that reason, we should be more aggressive, I would tell you. And we should go somehow on a low level. Even somehow sitting in our offices is good, but somehow on a low level, what's going on there, we should controlling like all side of business. And back to this combination, of course, central government, local government, most important, how we work together. If one step we miss it, we will have it again. So for that reason, I strongly recommend for Uzbekistan just to take it like on a regional level differently. And most importantly, to give the all regions some missions. Top 5 priorities. And I strongly believe strong region is a strong country to be successful. Thank you very much.
Thank you. A strong region is a strong country, and very important messages there about a strategy that is regional, proactive, nimble, flexible, and constantly monitored so that you can keep adapting it as the context changes. Our panelists are very kindly offering to take a few questions from the audience before I go back for some final comments from our 2 government representatives on my left. So you have a massive opportunity here to ask your question directly to this very eminent panel. I'd like to take a few questions before I come back to the panel. It's a once in a lifetime opportunity, guys. It's going fast. Okay, it seems to me like you've answered all the questions. So I think the job of the panel here is done. I'd like to go back to the 2 of you, Deputy Prime Minister and Mr. Gulyamov. You heard all of the international experts. And there are themes emerging on the focus of jobs, the focus on social security, on the importance of growth. You could be forgiven for thinking that everyone is telling you everything is important. But everyone's also telling you about the importance of avoiding fragmentation, coordination, and flexibility and nimbleness. So I guess very, very briefly, first, Deputy Prime Minister, what are your thoughts as we begin this conference? Because this really is the beginning of 1.5 days of a conversation. Mr. Gulyamov.
And let me first start with what we start at the very beginning, that this is the very first forum on poverty reduction in Uzbekistan. So, and of course, there will be many views. And the poverty itself, as Mr. Alkir said, that this is a multidimensional, many growth, jobs, social protection, human capital, roads, everything. And so there are many. I don't want to steal from the other panelists, and we have several panels on every issue, even gender issues. And but I think that today's panelists, what they added is very important, as Mr. Elon focused on the global challenges. Of course, we should take it into account, and because in Uzbekistan we have poverty, we announced that, but at the same time we have challenges with the global ones, like growing prices for the food and many geopolitical issues and everything. So we should take it into account, and we should face that pandemic for 3 years already. So many people become poor in the world, and it affects our country as well. The issue on coordination, it's also very important, because when we look at the reforms, there is no single bullet, and no can be one team which fights the poverty and everything will be solved. Not of course. Everyone should work. It's very, very long road ahead, and it's even in 5 years, if you will be successful and reach the poverty twice, it doesn't mean that the job will end. No, we should go further. We should work, and like China, good example, it took 30 years. And I think that the same will be every other country. And Ms. Murthy talked about the education and private sector and growth. Yes, equally important. It's not only the governments who should work, but the private sector itself should contribute by doing what they should do, but also with an active role in developing the region, developing the village, and developing the sector what they work. And Mr. Rashalamadze is also talked about the long road, and also it was a regional development, which is yes, the challenges are global, but every region is different. Every mahalla in Uzbekistan is different, and we need different approach. So I thank all the panelists and invite them to the discussions in the coming 2 days. Thank you.
Thank you. Deputy Prime Minister, any final words from you before I conclude?
Thank you. I think plenary session is quite useful. Even we didn't find some major steps, but anyway, we are looking forward to have some good recommendations. And my colleague, Mr. Gulamov, highlighted main message from key speakers. I think this is all of points are useful from the policy makers issue point, from policymakers point, and maybe as an addition to what Mr. Gulamov said, I would maybe highlight the issue of food security. Food security for Uzbekistan is quite sensitive issue, taking into consideration what's going on in this region. Second, some of the keynote speakers mentioned green transformation. Green transformation, maybe it would sound like that. What kind of connection or correlation between green transformation and poverty reduction? But everybody is talking about inclusive economic growth. And in my understanding, sustainable and inclusive economic growth anyway would require green economy, green transformation. And as I said, this frog jump development, we needed some jumping, not to be behind of many countries. And we see one of the opportunities is the green transformation. And for our colleagues from IFIs, others, UNDP, and all of other partners, very soon we will have just working virtual meeting on green transformation and SME. Both of issues, I think, related to that. So, Madam Praskuryakova is smiling. That Jamshid is every morning waking up with some new task for IFI. But so you have no choice, Tatiana. So you have to be patient with us. So these two issues again, SMEs and green transformation. SMEs somehow Lalita catch this issue because speaking about private sector development, of course, she means SME. SME development, in my understanding, means inclusive growth, where not only group of people will be beneficiary from economic growth, but more people, more. Governor of Bukhara region was speaking about leasing of the agricultural land for 10 years. This, in my understanding, good point for this inclusive economic growth. That's why President of the country, His Excellency Mr. Mirziyoyev, is highlighting and pushing this idea of leasing agricultural land. So, really, I would just add two points. SME and green transformation. On green transformation, hopefully you will, many of you would attend second economic forum of Uzbekistan in autumn, in September. And one of the main points of that will be just green transformation and SME development. So again, thank you very much. But right now, really, it's too early to say me something, something significant. All of this very preliminary. I think tomorrow, or after all, everybody, when everybody would share with us their ideas, I think we will have much background information in order to summarize our policy issues regarding to poverty reduction. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And those are very significant points. The only thing I'll say is, and I'm sure Tatiana will agree, from having worked in many, many different countries, it's much better to work in a country where the government has too many demands of the international community than countries where they have none or too few. So we are here as the international community to support. And please be demanding. We are here exactly for that, to support your level of ambition. So I'd like to end again by congratulating you and the government for recognizing this issue, acknowledging this issue of poverty, tackling it head on with a strategy, with measurement, organizing this first poverty reduction forum. I'd like to congratulate the Ministry of Economy and Poverty Reduction, Deputy Minister Norkulov, for all the work that I know has gone into this and the support given by UNDP and World Bank. And we wish the forum all the best for 1.5 days of really rich discussion. And thank you to all the panelists and to the audience for your engagement.